Here's Brody Brazil.
So this past weekend, I was working baseball games at the Coliseum. I had to go into the A's team offices, which just so happened to be in the same building as the Oakland Arena. And I got to thinking, what exactly is going on inside there right now? How quiet, how routinely vacant must it be? I know they're having events once in a while, but it's certainly not like it used to be when the Warriors played home there and when the venue was a lot more busy in terms of its schedule. So here's my question. What is next for the Oakland Arena? Let's first look back on some history here. The last Warriors game was June of 2019. So, more than 3 years ago now since the Warriors were last there. The remodel was completed in 1997. Obviously, this is a structure from the 60s, but it was completely gutted in the mid-90s, and then by 97, it was basically brand new again on the inside. And as for right now, in terms of major events per month, there's anywhere from 0 to 9 on the calendar. In fact, I've highlighted October of 2022. There's 9 different events. It's a very busy calendar month for the Oakland Arena, mostly concerts, but some months have 9. Other months have no dates. And it goes on for a couple months where there's nothing on the schedule. So sporadic to say the least right now, and I can't think that is optimal. So here are some things that I'm pretty sure we can conclude about the Oakland Arena. Number one, disuse, not using it at all. That's bad. Think about not living in your house for a while, or not driving your car for a while, not bringing out the boat for a while. Things just tend to break when you don't use them, right? And regarding this facility and infrastructure, plumbing, electrical, just the seats in general, small stuff, big stuff, whatever, if you don't use it, well, you don't lose it, but it may not work the same. It may require more upkeep from disuse than actually from using it on a regular basis. We also know that this area, Northern California, it's very competitive in terms of indoor sporting arena type venues that could draw a concert. I mean, there's SAP Center in San Jose. There's now Chase Center in San Francisco. There's Golden One Center up in Sacramento. There's also other indoor and outdoor venues that could also compete for incoming, tours, concerts, comedy shows, whatever. It's not just a one venue region or area. We can also understand that events here in 2022 are still limited. I mean, not as many people in total are going to packed events as they did before the pandemic. And we also understand that the entire Coliseum complex is likely to undergo a huge change within the next 10 years. And the football/baseball stadium probably won't exist. Who knows exactly what the future holds for the Oakland Arena and the parking lots to the north and to the south. Okay, so I put this on Twitter, and I'm just curious what people think. What's your best and worst case scenario for Oakland Arena 5 years from today? What's your best and worst use for this building? And I got some interesting responses. Here's Richard saying, worst use would be to not use it at all. Slightly less worse as a storage building. Well, yeah, that's a very expensive storage building. Just under that is a constant state of never-ending renovation like the Kaiser Convention Center. Yeah, right by Lake Merritt. That building is much older. But yeah, the older it gets, the more maintenance is required, the less you use it, the more things that suddenly break when nobody even touched them. Rusty says, best case scenario, WNBA and concerts. Worst case scenario, Spirit Halloween store. Yeah, we haven't dipped to that level yet, have we? But that's a good one, Rusty. I appreciate that. Fifth Grade Nightmare says, time to bring in esports tournaments. Ooh. All right, I've got some thoughts on that later. That was not on my radar, but I like where you're going with that. Lakeshore/Neil says, there's no way Oakland would be awarded an NBA team when the Warriors play in San Francisco and the Kings are in Sacramento. Hopefully a WNBA team. Perhaps an outside shot at the NHL, although they would have to reconfigure their arena for that. There's a lot going on right there, which I will respond to in just a second. If we're talking NBA and NHL, I got to hit the brakes on you for just a second, but we'll circle back to that one. Nicholas says, I'd like to see a WNBA team, and maybe the Sharks host a few preseason games there. And then last but not least, Elton says, honestly, the Sharks should have moved there and rebranded as the Bay Area Sharks. More fans and definitely more influence to the area. Actually, I disagree with that. I think the Sharks have been perfect in San Jose. That was the design, to be a major pro sports team in the most populous area of our region, to own that market of San Jose, and that's all they've done for, more than 30 years now. So I get it. I know what you're thinking. I don't think it would play out how you might expect, but we can get back to that one in a second too. Some ideas here, the obvious ones that I think are most interesting or most favorable. And speaking of most favorable, let's begin right there. I think the Oakland Arena is best served down the road as a concert venue, a strictly concert venue, a place where you can transform it so that musicians and bands and artists, they want to come play Oakland Arena because it's favorable to what they're trying to do there. This would be a first for the area. We don't really have a building, an indoor arena type building that is meant for concerts. Now, they do have this in Los Angeles. It used to be called the Great Western Forum when the LA Lakers played there and the LA Kings hockey team played there. It's now called the Kia Forum. It's still in Inglewood, still the same building. They've transformed it on the inside just a little bit to be more acoustically friendly for music and sound and concerts. They've also changed some of the rooms so that there's like a VIP section. And it's a concert goer's paradise. It's meant to go see concerts there. The Kia Forum, an old building that was upgraded on the inside. And speaking of that, minimal upgrades here for the Oakland Arena. It really wouldn't need a whole lot to be changed. I mean, maybe you take out some of the seating on one side to permanently put the stage there. Maybe you acoustically treat the roof so that instead of being cavernous and kind of creating that reverberation that a basketball team would like for their crowd to make them sound louder and larger, maybe you make it a little bit more acoustically dead and silent so that music sounds better inside there. And you wouldn't have to do a whole lot to make that happen, all things considered. But again, stiff competition because there's Concord, there's Shoreline, there's places, there's the Greek in Berkeley, there's places that bands and artists would also go to play beyond just Oakland Arena. So the competition for music and concerts, it's no doubt still there. Let's talk about a WNBA team for just a second. I do think the allure of, hey, we've got Oakland Arena for you, that's great. I mean, that would make a great landing spot for a WNBA team. It's eye-catching. It's a facility that, hey, the Warriors play there. If it's good enough for them, I mean, most certainly it could host a WNBA team. But while it might be good for the initial landing, is it really what you want for the long term for a WNBA franchise? Is it the platform for success over years and decades for this WNBA club? I don't think so. And a couple different reasons. Number one, and most obvious, is capacity and attendance. Capacity of this place, almost 20,000, 19,596 is what Oakland Arena seats for basketball. And on the bottom of the screen there are average attendance figures across the WNBA this season here in 2022. Seattle, they draw great, upwards of 10,000 plus per game. 40-game season, by the way, 20 home dates. Obviously, you can do the math. Other teams like Phoenix and Minnesota and Chicago, they draw in the 7,000s, but then Connecticut, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and New York, the Liberty, they draw in the 5,000 range. And that kind of seems to be the median. And then you have Washington, Dallas, Atlanta, and Indiana. Those are all sub 5,000 in the 3, 2, and 1,000 range per game. Anyway, my point is, let's be generous and let's say the franchise initially does well. Let's give them 8,000 a night, for 20 games, but 8,000 in a 19,596 venue, it's hard to translate. You instantly lose all the emotion, all the buildup. You lose all the energy that comes in the building that is very excited to see their team. You'll lose it because you have to tarp off or curtain off the entire second deck, and skyboxes go empty, and all the spaces of the facility are unused. Half the concession stands are closed. You just need the right venue to cater to your team, to make the experience intimate and electric. And like I said before, if Oakland Arena could lure in this WNBA team, great. And maybe that's the home for the first year or two, great. I just don't think it's where you want to spend year after year and try and be successful there. And you know what? Even if they do lure the team in with this arena, but then they plan to leave in 2 or 3 years or 1 year, then what was the point? You're just using the place. We're trying to figure out what is a permanent solution for this building. And a WNBA team helps, and don't get me wrong, the schedule of only 40 games, that's not even, it is half, basically, of what an NBA schedule is like or an NHL schedule is like. It's not a lot of dates. So this is not, in my opinion, like a main tenant status. Would I take it? Absolutely. And let me also say this. The Bay Area is way past overdue for getting their own WNBA team. So this would be, all things considered, great, but great for the Oakland Arena? I don't know. And great for the franchise? I can't say that in the long term. Let's go to the NHL idea. That league's not expanding anytime soon. They just got to 32 teams, 16 in the playoffs. They are set for a bit. They expanded in Las Vegas. They expanded in Seattle. They are hitting the brakes. If they do anything, it might be moving a franchise, but I don't even want to go down that road, really. So you're not getting an expansion team. Nobody's really set on moving right now. I don't even think you can have that conversation. As mentioned by somebody there, you would also obviously need a huge facility upgrade. If you got to make ice, that's a lot of infrastructure that building is not up to standards with right now. They can still make ice because they do Disney on Ice there, but not NHL ice and not to the quality that a hockey team would need. So all that, the boards, the extra locker rooms and dressing rooms, they're not in place right now. So if I didn't completely cross off hockey in your mind yet, what about the Sharks? You think they'd want somebody else in their market, or they would allow that? Absolutely not. And the league would not allow that either. Now, let me just say this. Is there some circumstance where X amount of years down the road, the Sharks have to move out of San Jose for some reason? The only way I would ever see this possible is if the Sharks were essentially forced out of their current home. And this was like the only good backup option. It's still in the Bay Area. It's better than nothing. But again, a lot of things would have to happen there. And also a lot of things would have to happen here. Like, this is not happening anytime soon, what I just suggested. So unless Oakland Arena is going to be empty for the next 10 years, you can cross the Sharks off the list, or anybody else that would compete with them in the National Hockey League. So NHL, pipe dream. NBA, the same kind of unfavorable odds here. You got the Kings in Sacramento. You've got the Warriors in San Francisco. 2 teams already within a 90-minute drive or less. And you're going to put a third team right in the middle of that? That does not even exist in New York the way it stands right now. And not to mention, you need a huge facility upgrade. I mean, the Warriors have a brand new building. The Kings have a brand new building. Oakland Arena is, coming up on 30 years since major renovation. So that's not a product. That's not a platform for a product that's going to be successful over the years. It's impossible to bring the NBA back there. And again, if the NBA is going to expand, I'm telling you right now, they are going to Seattle. And I've also heard that Las Vegas is very much in the mix for a brand new NBA building and team, and so Oakland's not getting this opportunity anytime soon. And let me just say this, similar to the WNBA situation with capacity being too large and the building being too big and cavernous, for that it's also too big for the G League. So I don't see anybody's G League team coming to the Oakland Arena either. Just not going to happen. How about an esports arena? I kind of like that suggestion. I hadn't really thought about that. It would be, I think, the first of its kind. Now, how often are these events? Often enough? Are we talking, primary tenant status? For that, I think you need 50 dates a year of one thing to call it primary tenant. Because, the Warriors back in the day, handful of preseason games, 41 regular season games. If you're lucky, maybe a round or two of playoffs. I mean, back in the day, right? And in recent years, in their final years, they're 4 playoff rounds. But yeah, you need 50 plus dates, home dates a year to call yourself a primary tenant. So can esports do that? And how many people can esports bring in? Could it be a year-round esports facility? Because I'll tell you, being in the tech-savvy region that we are, I mean, all the game manufacturers, technology manufacturers, software, hardware, data, you've got all these companies right in our backyard. It might be interesting if Oakland Arena were a home base for esports. Think about that for a second. You could have practice, you could have competitions, you could have kind of like drop-ins, Just a thought. That would be interesting. And I don't know if the market is there for that. I don't know if the opportunity is there, but it's interesting. And then nobody really mentioned this, but let me just throw it out there. How about the building and the site for retail or education? I mean, clearly it's got good access. It's right by the freeway. And the same thing people say about the Coliseum. It's got a BART station, so it must be easy to get to. But yeah, you would have to do a total remodel, again, of the inside of that building if you wanted to make it retail spaces, hotel, conference, meeting applications, education in terms of classrooms, lecture halls. I mean, they've gutted the place before, and they wouldn't have to entirely do it again, but certainly it would take on an entirely different build and look. So yeah, there are some creative options. The building is circular, kind of sits underground. You could figure some things out. It is possible. I urge you to look up Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. It's an old hockey arena. They renovated it. In fact, the bottom floor became a grocery store. I kid you not. The bottom floor of that building turned into a grocery store. So things like that. But then the only concern I think about is that Oakland Arena, where it's at right now, it's just too isolated. Who's going to come there specifically to hang out, go shopping, do whatever on a random Wednesday? It's in a weird spot, right? It's not a weird spot if you're going to a game. It's a one-off situation, but I don't think people are going to go there over and over as much as necessary on a regular basis. Prove me wrong. I don't know. So the bottom line is this site, but specifically like this building, there's still some value here because it's not entirely antiquated yet. It's still like in its window of opportunity. It needs usage. Like disuse is bad. I don't think sports are the total answer here. Like getting sports back is the hardest thing to do of anything else, and I think that's why the concert venue idea might be the best. But yeah, sports are the harder angle here for Oakland Arena than anything else. And yeah, time is ticking. The building's only getting older. It's only getting not used more often than not. I'm seriously, just walking in the place, the other part of it, not the main arena bowl, just thinking, is it just always dark in there? I mean, are there like spiders in there? Like what is going on inside there? I really have no clue. Kind of love to check it out. I imagine it's just completely empty on a day after day and night after night basis. So there you go. What is next for Oakland Arena? You tell me your ideas and thoughts in the comments section below.